Imagine criar um aplicativo com a sua assinatura.
Sorry guys, I have been staying silent. My microphone was switched off. E galera, por favor, me avisa que meu microfone não tá funcionando, por favor. Muito obrigado por me lembrar, porque eu passei uma live inteira silencioso por causa disso. I actually be thinking, Marcos, é que eu falei muito tempo atrás que o canal ia ser em inglês. Well, I actually saw an interesting video about forgotten guns, unknown guns that exist. I was actually interested, but I also watched some video about Australia. You guys know Australia is like
toxic environment. Survival isn't just about evading foreign and
This whole present.
weird as hell. Seriously.
assault rifle.
Let me try to find it. What was the name of the guy? I'm trying to find it. Wait a minute. Where is this? Where's the? Wait a minute, guys. I'm trying to find. Where's the video? Deixa eu ver se o microfone tá mudo, tem que ver isso aí. Ah, não, é OBS. OBS é cagado. Do you guys ever plan to go to Australia or somewhere? Oh man, I can't find the video, but how was it, guys? Seriously. Oh yeah, I believe I found it. Yeah, I actually found the video. Tava com saudade de tu, muito obrigado, muito obrigado. Achei um vídeo aqui pra nós ver, peraí. More parse? What do you mean parse? Esse mês vai ser complicado, cara. TCC, trabalho, tô muito ocupado. Vídeo da Austrália, falando que ela só num lugar bizarro. Supermercado de R$100 de compra. Ô, louco, aí sim. Let me show you guys. Here, this guy right here.
Aussie farmers thought they were being attacked by aliens. But what was actually causing it is so much funnier. This is a wallaby, the kangaroo's vertically challenged little cousin. Now, to get a little
they're adorable.
more specific, this is a Bennett's wallaby, native to my home state of Tasmania.
Tasmania. Ficou pedindo besteira em nome da sexta-feira, é isso.
And that location is very important to the story. Tassie is home to a lot of things. Beautiful views, a seal with a felony record, and the nut. However, one thing they tend to leave off the tourism brochures is drugs. Tasmania is the world's largest exporter of legal opium.
What? What? Wait, do you mean so that tiny island actually is the provider of 50% of the world's largest drug supply?
The main ingredient in opioid painkillers like morphine, with this one tiny island producing 50% of global...
How one tiny island can actually supply half of the world in supply? Basicamente, a Tasmânia é responsável por 50% do suprimento mundial de opioides para a dor, literalmente. A Tasmânia.
Global supply. Now, opium comes from poppy milk, and to get poppy milk, you need to milk poppies. And to produce that 50% of global supply, Tasmanian farmers grow huge fields of these things across the north of the state. However, because throwing these flowers into a crafting table gives you narcotics, these fields are legally required to be under extremely tight security. Which is why these same poppy farmers became extremely confused when crop circles showed up in the plant equivalent of a Town Hall 9 Clash of Clans base. They were understandably absolutely bewildered by this, and some people even thought it was aliens. So to figure out whether or not it was a Halo Elite drawing this shit, they set up some cameras. And what they saw was this little shit breaking into the field, eating the milk-filled buds, getting absolutely eyed, and then hopping in circles until he passed the out. They...
Nossa, o bichinho comia todas as papoulas, ficava drogadaço, corria em círculos, detonava uma parada e desmaiava.
Thought the Covenant were invading, and it was a drink-driving wallaby.
Nossa, velho. Meu Deus, um negocinho, velho. Porque você fala, tipo... Não, mas eu tô impressionado aqui. É tipo um micro... É um mini canguru drogado. Ah, tem um cara muito bom que também fala de animais, cara. Tem um youtuber que ele é maravilhoso. Where is it? Where's the guy? No, no. I don't remember the name of that guy, but like... Engraçado como a natureza ela é doida. Esse cara é maravilhoso. Fossas. Me pergunto por que eles são o nome disso. Arruinando o Nemo com a ciência porque eu posso. Aura moments. Oh yeah, this is interesting.
NANI? Slick back. That's what I said. Slick back. No.
Damn.
You see this nest? You want to know what built this nest? You don't want to know what built this nest. You want to know what made these bones? You don't want to know what made...
Ele escolheu pra fazer na Austrália primeiro e ir embora. Segundo, nunca voltar. Realmente, a Austrália não é pra fracos não. Acho que nem eu duro lá, velho. Olha a nossa arpia aí, a arpia brasileira.
This bird's a buckbeak coated me to my mental stability. The harpy eagle is a homicidal hippogriff with the jungle census on its hit list. And a big reason is harpies having the largest claws of any bird. Not only do they have vice grip talons that could comfortably dap up a grizzly bear's paws, they say getting gripped by them is like getting caught in a Rottweiler's jaws. They're the national bird of Panama, but you finna be pantomiming once this Jurassic reject takes your breath. By crushing your windpipe, but by
Nossa,
far
tem a maior garras do mundo animal. E, galera, isso aqui tem no Brasil, tá?
the most out-of-pocket thing is what nature went ahead and did with their wings. Unlike most birds its size, harpy eagles have relatively short wings. I'm talking about if eagles were the NBA, this would be their build. But the short wings just means this life unsubscription service can duck and weave through the dense jungle to catch a body. Which also means there are very few things alive in the Amazon that a hunting harpy can't pack up, from monkeys and sloths, to armadillos, snakes, and porcupines, to other predators like ocelots and foxes. They'll also body other birds like parrots, and they'll even murk other raptors like vultures. But then, what even is a raptor? The answer might just surprise you. Raptors are what most people might call birds of prey, which is already a problem because there's plenty of other birds that'll have you preying. So the raptor title gets gatekept to the birds with all three: a sharp hooked beak, a Jurassic-style pedicure and talons, and an OP sense of sight.
Mano, ave é um bicho tão foda. É um bicho muito... Não, é um bicho maravilhoso. É um bicho muito foda. Mas, enfim.
So without a hooked beak but webbed feet, the demonic garbage chute misses the cut. Chronic Crash Out the Canada Goose doesn't sit at the raptor lunch table because if it did, it probably would have seen that coming. But the whole raptor thing's a pain in the prostate, and it's because raptors, they're basically cats that can fly. You remember the cat video I made and how insanely convoluted the names got? Like how a black panther isn't actually an animal, a cat called a panther isn't actually a panther,
Sua audiência americana vai querer me bater, mas a Gana Careca... Eu sei disso. No, they
no
know...
leopard is genetic.
They actually know that the American Eagle has so many myths surrounding it. I know you guys actually it's your national animal. It has a really nice story, but guys, you know that the thing that the eagle actually breaks its own beak and claws, it's actually a lie, right? And compared to plenty of other animals, she's very small and weak compared to others. No, I'm not saying that she doesn't she's not a strong animal, but there are others who are stronger, faster, and stuff like that. You know, she's not the MVP.
Genetically closer to a tiger, and how a cougar pushing 220 ain't a big cat, but a cat barely a $110 is. Raptors are low-key the same, where the name raptor doesn't describe a family or union, but like Black Panther, raptor is more like a description. But I'm gonna get to that. Now, the other problem with raptors is that nature basically bamboozled them. Of course, the ability to fly is broken, but it comes with hollow bones. Now, hollow bones aren't to keep the bird light enough for flight. It's more that pneumatic bones are filled with air and so give extra oxygen to fuel their flight. But it also means a broken bone is a career-ending injury for an avian, and as hunters, they run the risk of getting folded by their own prey. The compromise is, raptors have some of the most heinously creative ways of confiscating consciousness, revoking your existence. Whatever you want to call it, the bird of prey hunting strat is straight out of the pages of a mob boss's torture diary. And we can start with the secretary bird, aka Jurassic Park and Yoga.
Secretary bird? Why is it secretary bird? Does she take skulls or something like that? Why it's named secretary bird?
Pants, named after the fact that, like a secretary, they'll connect you to the big boss upstairs if you give them the chance. They cancel prey by kicking them in the head until they flatline or just lie flat, and their usual targets are snakes. The combo of delivering multiple kicks in the time it takes to blink, and how disrespectfully accurate they are, all adds up to a 6-piece serpent assault where they spam a river dance on a snake's
Mano, a natureza é muito doida, velho.
skull until it caves in, leaving the snake out of order like a reptile dysfunction. You gotta hand it to them. That's pretty metal. Actually, you should do the opposite, since the Kung Fu crane can apparently shatter the bones in a human hand. And
Nossa, ele pode quebrar ossos da mão humana.
it's not just snakes. Secretaries will go after things like cheetah cubs and baby gazelle. I think now is a good time to mention they can be an honest 4 feet tall, with a thigh gap no less. As you can see, they're liable to violate snakes and beauty standards, all while being one of the few birds with 2 pairs of wings, no Red Bull. This high-stepping battery charges with all the smoke, literally, because they'll gather around brush fires just for the opportunity to murk any small animal running for its life. Don't let the pretty privilege distract
Then I share most of the grizzly birds, the most base animal in USA, in my opinion. Nah, bear. That's for Russia. Russia national animal is the bear. They already have that one. Yeah. I believe our national animal is the cheetah or the guarao. Oof, I don't remember exactly. I gotta see that. I know China is the panda. I believe. Japan... I don't know. É basicamente as pernas mais iradas do reino animal.
It's an African assassin chicken in thigh boots dressed like a recently divorced mother of 3. And they're not the only ones, because I'll be honest, I low-key forgot this bird existed. This is a Seriama. It's basically a Latin secretary bird, but the real family tree flexes they're the only living relatives of terror birds. Yes, those terror birds.
Oh, so it's a descendant.
They might be less vertically gifted at less than 2 feet tall, but instead of kicking, Seriamas rather body slam their prey to death. The dinosaur time forgot will grab prey and slam them into the ground or against a rock repeatedly. They'll spam suplex as many times as it takes for the bones to break. And if you're too big for all that, they'll use the same sickle claw their prehistoric cousins used to hold down prey and disembowel it alive. So if you get targeted by a Seriama, you'll either get the Hulk to Loki treatment, except from a travel-sized terror turkey, eviscerated and violated while pinned by a weaponized toenail, or just swallowed clean like a Vorophile's wet dream. So far, we have a curb-stomping aggro bird and a mob boss build and terror bird final form. And we're just getting started. This is a kite, and before you ask, this was named after the bird, not the other way around. A kite is like the forgotten little brother of eagles and hawks, and like a kite, they...
O irmão mais novo da águia e O falcão também é muito legal, tá? Falcão é um bicho incrível. E, pelo visto, ó que legal.
catch bodies by hovering above the ground and waiting for movement, so they can swoop down and snatch it. I believe kiting is the expression. They're pretty cool. They grief many of the insects that make life slightly less worth.
Panda é basicamente um animal que só não foi extinto porque não nos fazemos. É, porque você vê o panda. É tipo assim, bichinho fofinho, ele não faz nada. Opa. Anyways.
Living. The 17-year cicada parade is basically their Super Bowl. Like the secretary bird, they too will gather around grass fires, and any animal trying to run from the smoke gets ironically cooked. But Australian black kites take it a step felony by carrying burning twigs and dropping them on patches of grass. An act of avian arson that got them another name: Firehawks. Apparently this is nothing new, with records of them stealing brands from indigenous cooking fires and dropping them half a mile away. There have even been scientific records of them dropping bread into water to bait small fish, and if it wasn't for this clip, I probably wouldn't believe it. You'd think an aerial arsonist.
What?
And if it wasn't for this clip, I probably wouldn't believe it. You'd think an aerial arsonist airdropping Inferno in a country that has up to 60,000 wildfires a year would immediately get blacklisted. But no, black kites are protected because, once again, of course a felon with wings is above the law. They're also banned in Boston, but only because we all know Boston can't stand the heat. Now I have a whole video on owls, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. But this is the start of what I was talking about, because you'd normally expect a raptor to be related to other raptors. Instead, the owl's closest relative looks like a Muppet flashlight. Flashlight? What does that?
Why did you even say that, man?
Oh, I can't say that. Owls are predators on incognito, thanks to feathers that allow them to fly almost completely silently. Again, you don't realize how unsettling that is till you go to bed a family and wake up a single mother. They also have a satellite dish for a face and uneven ears, so even under a foot of snow, they can hear exactly where you're about to go. Owls are 100% the closest thing to cryptids with wings, and while they haven't murked people, allegedly, there's plenty of predators that do the closest thing to cryptids with wings, and while they haven't murked people, allegedly.
What, the owls? An owl killed someone?
There's plenty of predators that do feed off unsuspecting humans, just like you, including arguably the worst predator of all, data brokers. There's a lot of data brokers that feed themselves by collecting your personal information. Some criminals can steal
propaganda
for that. So you're up against a will scan the recesses of the internet for your personals. Why wouldn't they? Have the aneurysm list against prey. If you don't want to be a 60% right now, your head, that's what it looks like to get folded by a falcon. You see, falcons are cool, but they're, yeah, there it is. Head would spin. Kind of like, believe me, use the code CasualGeo for 60% off an annual plan to guard your private data. Because believe me, if you knew some of the places your info is right now, your head would spin. Kind of like, wait for it. Yeah, there it is. That's what it looks like to get folded by a falcon. You see, falcons are cool, but they're weaker than eagles and hawks, so instead they commit to the fastest hitting runs on Earth. Literally, the fastest. So falcons like the peregrine will start up high and dive, that's called the stoop, and once the flying derecho hits triple-digit miles per hour, they'll ball up their feet like a fist. So yeah, they really do falcon punch their prey into past tense. Didn't even give them time to duck. Not only that, but falcons also have a toenail tooth made specifically to snap spinal cords and send prey to the Lord like Sunday service, all while flying. The one-shot specialist has been known to snipe bald and golden eagles threatening their nest. And there was one time a snowy owl murked a falcon fledgling, so the mother falcon went and life deprived the owl. There's a lot of ways falcons are built for speed, but the biggest flex is that they have the fastest
O falcão literalmente são as aves mais rápidas do planeta.
processing speed of any animal alive. Compared to us, they see the world in slow motion. Falcons are dope, but because of them we have to address the whole raptor thing again. Because instead of hawks, eagles, or any other bird of prey, the missile with wings is most related to parrots. So again, raptor isn't a family name, most of them aren't even closely related. But there are a lot of falcons, like the American kestrel. I like them because they're pretty. Small. The colorway ain't bad either. Kestrel.
It's so small, it's so small.
I like them because they're pretty. Small. The colorway ain't bad either. They also factory reset prey by stabbing them in the back of the head with that tooth, but you can't deny this psychopath's cute. The black-thighed falconet is the smallest bird of prey in the weight class of a sparrow, yet they also find a way to pack up other birds. The pygmy falcon is a nest pirate that often shacks up in the homes of weaver birds. Normally it's a good gig with the pygmies clearing out snakes and lizards, but sometimes they'll switch up and kill their weaver bird roommates, so there's that. But there's another falcon that might just be the biggest bird off of all, and it might also be the most underrated. Next to bat is the caracara. The caracara is a black Air Force parrot. Unlike every other falcon, they'd rather handle business on the ground. They live on honey badger timings.
So they can fly, but they actually prefer going on the ground. Okay. No. We're gonna settle this on the ground, man. Nah. We ain't flying. No.
Pull up to a carcass and bully bigger vultures out the way. The crested caracara is a special kind of klepto. They'll straight up mob other birds like pelicans and press them into vomiting their lunch so they can have it. Striated caracaras in the Falklands are a Pennywise level threat to minor safety. You know raptor comes from the Latin word to seize or take by force. That's what this avian Amber Alert lives by. Caracaras will also link up with each other and form gangs and have honest to god turf wars. Even back in the day they were on Darwin's radar. In 1830 he mentioned how curious they were, but also how annoying it was to live around a bird that'll steal anything that isn't nailed.
So actually they steal everything.
Down. Turns out this affiliated delinquent of a bird is low-key the gifted student of the raptor class and is even smart enough to solve puzzles for fun. Basically, caracaras are if the peregrine falcon and the secretary bird had a baby, but it was adopted and raised by crows and tutored by the key on weekends. Just an overall underrated menace of a dinosaur, but also a hyper-intelligent, talented opportunist. Actually, I take that back. Vultures might be the most underrated. People assume something with the feeding habits of a casket is a pushover, and they do get their cookies taken by other raptors. But vultures very much can be about that life too. Especially since black vultures often won't wait for an animal to expire. They'll put weak, sick, or young animals on a shirt. Some farmers know all too well. Sometimes they'll wait for a cow to give birth just to jump the newborn and return to sender. Sometimes they won't even wait and they'll move on a cow in labor and act like the world's most malicious midwives. Getting violated by vultures means eyes gouged out, tongue torn off, and they'll even break through the back door. Basically the booty warrior of birds, but unlike boondocks, this one's protected by law. From a surgical psychopath to a scavenger. Yet a bearded vulture eats almost nothing but bones, and they've even been known to swallow ones nearly a foot.
Oh. Okay. I don't know what to think.
Long, but once in a while they'll go after the living, sometimes in the form of airdropping a tortoise hundreds of feet to feed on the insides like a piñata. You know, mountain climbers were so spiritually disturbed by the beardy, they called it the bird of Satan. To be fair, they have a sclera ring around their eyes that fills with blood when stressed and makes their eyes turn bloodshot when running a fade.
Não, calma lá. Vamos analisar o design. Não, eu lembro que tem um lance desses caras, tipo assim, que eles literalmente pintam as penas deles com sangue. Literalmente. Não, é a coisa mais metal que existe. Não, é muito foda. É muito pica. Parece um... Olha isso. Não. O bicho, ele... Mano, o bicho, ele literalmente passa maquiagem na cara. Não, mas olha isso, que foda. Me desculpa. O cara é muito foda. Nossa, a gente tá ficando bastante tempo aqui nesse dia. E aí, estamos vendo um vídeo de animal, mano. Tem um de animal muito foda.
Ring around their eyes that fills with blood when stressed and makes their eyes turn bloodshot when running a fade. The Grim Reaper's working with a whole showering gun activated. I don't blame him, that is demonic character design. Also, a bearded vulture allegedly murked a man with a turtle shell to the head like Mario Kart, which sounds fake, but keep in mind, there's a woman walking around with scars from breaking a porcupine's fall. RNG can be a real ad. All that, and you still can't show me a bird with the Harpy Eagle's aura. We already mentioned that life-canceling claws that could probably crush your skull, which is why Harpy Eagles have a prey list of over 116 species. And that includes putting other raptors like Seriamas and vultures on shirts. But don't think for 1 second nature came out with this and stopped there. The African crowned eagle is basically the harpy of the motherland. Same survival revoking claws, and same short wings to make it a menace to monkey kind. And they're the only raptor to allegedly see people as prey, with reports of human child remains in nests and the infamous tongue child believed to have been packed up by an African crown. Honestly, any continent outside of Penguin Land has at least one of these eagles. Australian wedgetails go after kangaroos and dingoes, and their territory will enough to fade $1,000 drone on site. There was one time a wedgie fought a helicopter and won, past tensing a pilot in the process. RIP. The North American golden eagle has a hit list of prey in the 400s. But really their claim to fame is how they'll give goats a first-class flight to the gulag with no return trip. I'm sorry, this is so disrespectful. Look at this animation.
Não. Mas nossa, eu morro.
He fought a helicopter and won, past tensing a pilot in the process. RIP. The North American golden eagle has a hit list of prey in the 400s. But really their claim to fame is how they'll give goats a first-class flight to the gulag with no return trip. I'm sorry, this is so disrespectful. Look at this animation.
Não, vamos analisar.
It's a first-class flight to the gulag with no return trip. I'm sorry, this is so disrespectful. Look at this animation. He gave him an
Não, ele pega o bicho com as garras e fala tchau. Jantar de graça.
NPC death gave him nothing but time to reflect. There's the Philippine eagle, which honestly mogs the out of everyone for no.
Design bonito. Gostei. A natureza fez design legal nesse.
Reason. But there might not be a bigger flex than the stellar sea eagle. You know, if this wasn't on camera.
That is a eagle. No, that is a eagle. That is one big eagle.
Nobody'd ever believe you. It's one of the heaviest eagles on Earth with an 8-foot wingspan. It's an oppressive force in Featherface that's apparently been seen carting off seals. Clearly the meteor told him to take a sick day, cause dog, you're not telling me that's not a dinosaur. And low-key, they might go the same way. For all the harpy hate I was talking, there's no recorded case of a harpy eagle killing or even attacking a human. In fact, it's them not being afraid of humans that can get them put on a shirt by poachers. Add habitat destruction, and if raptors like them aren't endangered, they're at least in danger of being endangered. Which is why you got places like the Raptor Trust in Millington, New Jersey, looking after all kinds of birds from Ollie the kestrel to Virgil the turkey vulture. They got couples too, like Mariah and Thor the golden eagles. They're mad cute together. And of course, a symbol of America, Colonel and Uno. Uno because of the whole one wing thing. And even though they're technically not raptors, I even met Ray the Raven. You know what's crazy? He's in a cage, and he's in a relationship with another wild raven. Like, he'll even sneak food between the bars of his cage for her. You know what's crazier? His girl has a whole nother family in the wild. I usually don't rock with homewreckers, but I'm rocking with Ray. But like I said, my favorites were definitely the owls, especially this bar.
Amazing. Animals are actually... Vamos ver uns negocinhos de Nemo, galera. Relaxa.
Remember that time Disney
Relaxa.
made a kids movie where a man's wife and children get violently ripped off the census and his only remaining son is left physically disabled, only for that same son to get kidnapped by a trafficker, and now the father has to travel hundreds of miles across predator-populated hoods with only the help of a severely mentally handicapped woman. Yeah, Finding Nemo was crazy. I'm gonna destroy your favorite movie with science, and here's a challenge. Take a shot, or a hit, cause you know, 420. Every time a main character should have become a chalk outline. Your grandkids will be in AA at the end. So it starts with a barracuda clapping virtually Nemo's entire bloodline, and here's where we get our first problem. Barracuda don't eat clownfish or their eggs, but you know who do? Clownfish themselves. Clownfish have been known to spawn, kill, and eat their own eggs, so Nemo's mother would have been infinitely more of a threat to him than any barracuda could have been. Now, to be fair, if you ask a clownfish how they like their eggs, they'd probably say unfertilized, cause those and damaged ones are the ones they'd usually eat, i.e. the ones that wouldn't make it anyway. But that goes against my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard it. The other elephant to address is how clownfish breed. Clownfish are sequential hermaphrodites, where every clownfish is born a male, and the biggest, most him male will transition into a female when the opportunity arises. Such an opportunity would be if a hypothetical barracuda took the alpha female on a dinner date with Batman's parents. That void would get filled by the biggest male clownfish in the area, and his spot would get filled by the second biggest male, and the two would proceed to mate with each other. And since the only clownfish we see in the entire movie are father and son, I'll let you fill in those dots.
No. Why, man? Why? Why you have to do this?
Clownfish aren't the only fish that switch teams. The Asian sheepshead wrasse does the same, but in reverse. They go from female to male. Although with a face for radio, you will not see them on a movie poster. If Nemo and Marlin having the worst form of family therapy wasn't bad enough, there's a good chance Nemo wasn't ever even alive. What if I told you Nemo means no one in Latin? Which means the movie title makes the theory that Marlin married Itachi suddenly gained legs. He also could have been named after Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But that goes against my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard it. It's easy for facts to get lost in favor of a better story, and if you don't know where to look, you'd have no way of knowing. Like, you may have heard that the administration started putting tariffs on penguins. Now, personally, I think it's been time those business chickens ponied up. They've had it too good for too long. But I gotta pretend to be partial. So that's why I'm working with Ground News. Ground News is an app and website developed by a former NASA engineer who did not like the way she'd seen information be used as a weapon and how news outlets tend to prey on their users' biases. And remember, if you think you're immune to bias, then you're exactly who they're looking for. But Ground News counters that by grabbing all the world's headlines in one place so you get the luxury of comparing coverage. There's no tunnel vision here. With Ground News, you can get the full picture and truly be informed. Like with the whole penguin taxation. Here you can see it was covered by 435 sources, and in terms of bias distribution, 36% were relatively center, with 40 and 24% left and right leaning respectively. You can also see that 82% of sources were marked as highly factual. Not too bad. And additionally, with the comparison...
Well, I believe we're watching too many nature videos, so I actually found something very interesting. Do you guys like weapons? Well, I heard there's some really weird weapons. I was already watching
assault rifles,
but I would watch your review.
Wendigoon, for real. We have Brendan Herrera at home. You look like donut operator
Obrigado.
if he was Muslim. Disney neckbeard Wendigoon. Hello, Brendan Herrera from Team. You look like and as usual,
Vamos ver umas armas diferentes. Eu vou tentar traduzir para vocês.
We are going to start off with another shotgun, the cripple shotgun. No, really, that's what it's called.
A escopeta de a escopeta do qual é o nome? Do aleijado, literalmente o nome disso.
While not exactly one specific model of firearm, the concept of a cripple shotgun is perhaps most well known for the ones made by the Benjamin Wild & Sons Company. They were really nothing more than a typical double-barrel shotgun with a curved buttstock that allowed the shooter to shoulder it on one side of the body and use the opposite eye to aim. These were primarily made in a right-handed orientation to be shot off of the left eye, since apparently being left-handed back then was considered a disability. Having a dominant left eye while being right-handed can be a little difficult for shooting, so using the cripple stock was one way to make shooting easier without having to learn how to shoot all over again in a left-handed orientation. The Nikonov machine gun was a prototype Soviet rifle from around the same time as the AN-94's development that had dual reciprocating barrels that would use each other's recoil to run the action. Now, I would assume that this mechanism was way too complicated and costly for wide-scale production because there's really not much else info out there on it. If you've played the first Black Ops game, then you probably remember the ASP, which was a customized Smith & Wesson 39 with a shortened barrel, clear plastic grip plates, a rounded-off hammer that sat flush with the slide, and a few other features that inspired many of the compact conceal-carry guns that came afterwards. One of the coolest features was the gutter snipe sight, which eliminated the need for a front sight due to the tapered V-notch on the back of the gun that made a much more flat and featureless top end. A similar modern equivalent to the gutter snipe is the SAS sights on certain variants of the SIG 365, with the idea being that Fewer things are poking out of the top and sides of the gun, therefore making it easier and more comfortable to conceal. The VSSK is an integrally suppressed Russian sniper rifle made in the early 2000s for special operation missions. It was designed to outperform the VSS in penetration while still remaining relatively quiet, and it does exactly that. Now, while not quite as silent as the VSSK is effective for anything all the way up to heavy body armor and light vehicle armor. The VSSK also has some siblings in the Shack-12 and the RSH-12, which use modified STS-130 rounds shortened to accommodate for their smaller frames. The G41M was an earlier, less refined version of the iconic Gewehr 43. Germany was one of the last big militaries to start moving towards more semi- and full automatic weapons for regular infantry between the two world wars, and when the Soviets started using the SVTs and the US adopted the Garand, they figured that it was time to jump onto the bandwagon. The G41 was one of the first rifles that saw significant production in Germany at the start of the war, and it mostly saw use on the Eastern Front. Could you do me a huge favor?
What?
Could you bring me some water?
Yeah, I have water bottle anymore.
We have cups.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're a doll.
I am.
One of the cool and interesting things about exploring weird guns is that sometimes a neat gun inspires someone to use it in a form of entertainment media, but that can also happen the other way around, and the movie gun ends up inspiring a real-world firearm. No, your eyes do not deceive you. That is an actual Indonesian soldier using the gun from RoboCop.
Oh!
That's right, the 1987 action movie about a cyborg cop fighting drug addicts in crime-ridden Detroit was apparently such a hit in Indonesia that the folks at Pindad Industries decided to make the Auto 9 real and issue it for
So they
soldiers.
actually made a RoboCop gun in real life.
The gun in the movie is nothing more than a Beretta 93R with some extra furniture, and the Pindad PS...
É, mas a minha é bem esquisita mesmo. What else we got? Oh! No, I'm gonna leave that one for later. Essa lendária? Eu sei, provavelmente deve ser, mas... Eu vou ver se eu acho alguma outra coisa aqui. Trying to find it. Ooh, Lovecraftian entity. Oh, I actually like this one. Wait. Wait a second. No. No. Where is it? Here, Lovecraftian entity, the iceberg. That one actually sounds good.
Imagine this. You stumble into a dark underground chamber and a squat, toad-like god with a potbelly swallows you whole. Its stomach can dissolve you in minutes, and there's no escaping once it decides your dinner. Welcome to the Lovecraftian entity iceberg. Tier 1, Azathoth. Azathoth is the most powerful deity in the
And perhaps the second most famous.
Cthulhu mythos, the shared horror universe created by H.P. Lovecraft. It's usually called the Daemon Sultan, or the Blind Idiot God. The titles sound dumb, but the thing behind them is anything but. Physically, it doesn't look like anything you'd expect. It has no eyes, limbs, or beastly features. It's just a massive, shapeless entity, roughly the size of a star that's about to destroy anything in its path. Its power is almost unlimited. It's immortal, invincible, and can twist reality however it wants. And if it gets angry, it could create or wipe out entire worlds just by thinking.
Well, actually, universe is entire world, because they say that Azathoth is dreaming, and so our existence is his dreams. Actually, seriously. So when if he wakes up, because there's the entire court trying to make him go still sleep, we will literally cease to exist if he wakes up, because we are actually his dream. I'm not kidding.
A good example of this comes from the dream quest of Unknown Kadath, where Randolph Carter learns that all existence is basically just Azathoth's dream, and if it ever wakes up, the universe pops like a soap bubble. But don't start panicking for a new dimension yet. Ancient magical spells keep it from fully using its powers or appearing in the physical world. Even with all that power, Azathoth is completely blind and has no mind of its own. It doesn't know where it is, has no plans, and doesn't even realize it exists. It drifts at the center of the universe, where Lovecraft described its court as the very axis of madness itself. Surrounding it is a court of smaller, shapeless gods that spin endlessly, piping on flutes, pounding drums, and dancing without rhythm. That chaos is what Azathoth feeds on. And because it can't manifest fully in our world, these lesser deities act as its messengers, carrying out whatever vague plans it might accidentally have. If Azathoth ever appeared physically, the universe would be over before we even knew what hit us. Later in Tier 2, you'll meet Nyarlathotep.
That one is actually one of the entities that I like the most, actually, because unlike the other gods, Nyarlathotep is actually evil. Like he's not indifferent. He is evil. In fact, he wants to screw us on purpose. And that actually makes him different from all the others, because they are all indifferent, big, and stuff like that. No, he actually is evil.
A Lovecraftian god who does all of Azathoth's dirty work. Yog-Sothoth. Lovecraft once described Yog-Sothoth as a congeries of glowing spheres, which in plain English means a floating cluster of glowing balls in different sizes and colors. It's not the most intimidating visual at first, but don't be fooled. This thing is one of the outer gods, and its power is way beyond human understanding. Unlike other Lovecraftian creatures that prefer causing trouble or smashing things apart, Yog-Sothoth specializes in knowing past, present, future, and every point in between. It's often called the All-in-One and One-in-All, which makes sense because it's the living embodiment of time itself. It's locked outside the universe, yet it also guards every dimensional gateway. Think of it as the gate itself, the lock, and the key all at once. Lovecraft himself describes Yog-Sothoth as the key and the gate, the guardian and the opener of the way. If you want to access forbidden dimensions, raise the dead, or bend reality, this is the entity you'd be begging to. Probably the same way you'd try summoning him at 3 a.m. when you realize your brain just isn't going to see you through that math exam. Despite being omniscient, Yog-Sothoth doesn't waste time on humanity. It doesn't care about morality, good or evil, or who's asking. But if someone insists on worshipping it, Yog-Sothoth might throw them a crumb of cosmic knowledge, which almost always results in the same thing: complete and irreversible madness. Human brains just aren't built for cosmic data dumps. Still, people never learn. In Lovecraft's story, The Dunwich Horror, a man named Wadley summoned Yog-Sothoth to impregnate his own daughter. That's the Wadleys for you. When other families were passing down recipes, they were trying to...
No, it wasn't his daughter, it was his wife, I think. I actually have an entire collection of Lovecraftian books, and I have a very huge book.
Themselves into eldritch bloodlines. The result was twins. Wilbur Wadley, who was at least half human.
Yeah, so, Marcos, the thing about Lovecraft is that, let me first tell you, he was not a nice guy. He doesn't like dark-skinned people, if you know what I mean. And another thing that he disliked was one other thing that he greatly disliked is people who live on the countryside. vou falar, o Lovecraft ele odiava caipiras. Tipo assim, ele achava que todo caipira queria comer pra própria família, não sei o que lá. Ele não gostava de gente que morava fora da cidade. Ele não achava sofisticado e falava que as pessoas eram ignorantes. Então, esse foi um jeito de representar esse ódio, dessa repulsa dele, essa história. Mas é uma história legal, bem escrita, assim.
His sibling, the Dunwich Horror itself. Wilbur grew up strange but functional. His sibling grew into a vast, half-invisible monstrosity that crushed cattle, flattened farmhouses, and sent a whole town into panic. So yeah, cosmic matchmaking doesn't exactly end in happy family photos. As for Yog-Sothoth itself, it's immortal and untouchable. Physical weapons don't work, and if anyone tries, it just shifts to another dimension and leaves the attacker with a broken mind. Yog-Sothoth deals with knowledge, but
Yog-Sothoth is based because like he's literally the perhaps wisest and most intelligent creature on the Lovecraftian mythos. Seriously.
later in Tier 5, we'll hit something that doesn't care about knowing. It just sings planets to death. Shub-Niggurath. When Lovecraft fans talk about cosmic horror, they usually think of Cthulhu, who you'll meet in Tier 2.
Shub-Niggurath is also another that needs more admiration.
But if you really want to ruin your sleep, Shub-Niggurath is the one you're looking for. Shub-Niggurath is the outer god of fertility. And while fertility usually means life and blessing, in her case, it's complicated. And you'll soon see what I mean. She used to be with Yog-Sothoth and had a whole bunch of kids for him. But now she's with Cthulhu's half-brother, Hastur. You'll also meet him.
Oh yeah, the King in Yellow, which is also an amazing entity by itself. Seriously, the King in Yellow is cool as hell. Seriously.
Tier 2. The takeaway from this is that even in cosmic horror, relationships don't always last. Shub-Niggurath first shows up by name in Lovecraft's 1928 story, The Last Test, though she gets more recognition in The Whisperer in...
Compilado de entidades... Não, nem sempre são entidades, mas assim, não é um compilado de entidades que podem destruir a Terra. Tem muitas criaturas que são só pessoas mutadas, mutantes, mas geralmente são, na maioria dos casos. Mas nem todas.
Darkness, and a bunch of other mythos stories. The funny thing is, Lovecraft never really described her. That job got left to later writers, who turned her into this massive cloudy thing covered in tentacles and mouths, all standing on goat-like legs. No, seriously, that's what they came up with. As the goddess of fertility, she's constantly giving birth. Her kids just fall out of her like it's nothing. Some of them separate completely and go do their own thing, while others can actually crawl back and reattach themselves to her. Some people's kids move back home after college, while others, well, they just fuse back into their mother's body. The ones that do make it on their own aren't exactly living it up. Not when they look the way they do. They're 12 to 20 foot tangles of tentacles with stumpy hooves, dripping green goo and carrying a stench strong enough to clear out a room. Shub-Niggurath herself hangs out in the dark between the stars, but she can travel across planets whenever she feels like it. Despite looking like the stuff of nightmares, she's one of the most worshipped outer gods. Hyperboreans, Movians, the people of Sarnath, plus druidic cults, barbaric tribes, and even non-human species all followed her. The catch is, you can only summon her during a new moon. Most of the time, though, you don't deal with her directly. You deal with her kids. You sacrifice someone on a stone altar in the woods, and her children will receive the offering on her behalf. If you're not a believer, they'll probably just eat you. While they're not accepting sacrifices and eating non-believers, Shub-Niggurath's children go around the world spreading their mother's faith, which just proves that tentacled monsters can be pushy missionaries too. So what do you actually get out of worshipping Shub-Niggurath? Well, if she finds you worthy, she'll swallow you through her womb and spit you back out as a satyr-like creature with immortality. The problem is, immortality kinda loses its shine when you're stuck bleeding for the rest of eternity. But I know that's not the part you're focusing on. If she doesn't find you worthy, that's fine too. You can settle for drinking her milk and mutate into some other kind of monster. Either way, you come out different than you went in. Elder things. Roughly a billion
All the other things, I actually read those stories as well. I know Lovecraft is problematic, and I know that he was an asshole in life, but you gotta agree that he created some very amazing worlds. I actually read that one as well. Sim, eu tenho uns 6, 7 livros assim do Lovecraft. Deles é gigantesco.
years ago, the Elder Things showed up on Earth and claimed it before anything else had the chance. Lovecraft sometimes called them the Old Ones, and they weren't exactly easy on the
No. The old ones are the other entities, my friends.
Picture an 8-foot barrel with starfish arms on both ends. One side worked as the head, with 5 eyes, 5 eating tubes, and shiny cilia to see in the dark, while the other was just 5 fused limbs for walking. In the middle, leathery wings stretched out, tangled with tentacles for swimming and grabbing stuff. Lovecraft said they looked part plant and part animal, which is his way of saying that they could reproduce with spores while still tearing into meat when they got hungry. They weren't immortal, but they did bleed thick green slime that smelled so bad, you could probably track one down from miles.
Não, mas que assim, os grandes antigos, ou The Old Ones, são todas as entidades gigantes antigas que moravam na Terra. Ah, não faz sentido, eles são parte dos grandes antigos.
Miles away. But their strangest feature wasn't the body, it was the brain. They had a 5-lobe design that gave them a level of intelligence far beyond anything else alive at the time. A human scientist in At the Mountains of Madness,
A great story, by the way,
even recognized them as scientists, not monsters. Their knowledge was centuries ahead of ours, and according to Lovecraft, they may have created all life on Earth. Their biggest experiment was the Shoggoths, a slave species they engineered to build and serve. That worked fine until the Shoggoths decided they weren't interested in being slaves anymore. You'll get all the details in Tier 3. After they colonized the Earth, it wasn't just the Shoggoths they had to deal with. Over the years, they fought against the star spawn of Cthulhu, the Migo, and the great race of...
Oh, the Migo! The Migo are so nice, and a great race of Eve as well.
Yith. Combine that with the Earth's climate shifting around, and eventually, the Elder Things abandoned their surface cities and retreated underwater. Nodens. Nodens, also called the Hunter or Lord of the Great Abyss, is one of the Elder Gods, and he has a fan club made up of Night Gaunts. They worship him, which makes sense since they do most of his dirty work anyway. He usually appears as an old man with long white hair and a beard, but don't let that frail wizard look fool you. He's actually freakishly strong, and instead of a horse or a dragon, his ride of choice is a giant seashell chariot pulled by strange sea beasts. Subtle isn't really his thing. He spends most of his time in the Dreamlands, tracking down monsters that don't belong there. Regular creatures
Oh, the Dreamlands is also very nice.
don't interest him as much, so he prefers going after the tougher targets, like Servants of the Great Old Ones, or Nyarlathotep.
Oh, he's throwing hands with Nyarlathotep. Oh man.
Speaking of Nyarlathotep, the two can't stand each other. Whenever they cross paths, it usually turns into a cosmic showdown, complete with some weird Lovecraftian-style trash talk. Nodens is sometimes portrayed as benevolent, but he isn't exactly a hero. Sure, he's been known to step in and help humans here and there, but it's usually because it benefits him, not because he's out here trying to save the day. The real ace up Nodens' sleeve is his command of the Great Abyss, the Lovecraftian version of the underworld. With his Night Gaunts at his side, he spends a lot of...
Oh, he's the god of the underworld.
The Lovecraftian version of the underworld. With his Night Gaunts at his side, he spends a lot of time messing up the plans of the outer gods and their spawn. If the cosmic horrors were throwing a party, Nodens and his crew would be the ones who show up to shut the whole thing down. Even with all that power, Nodens isn't the boss of the Elder Gods. He's more like their heavy hitter, the ones they rely on when someone needs to be hunted down. Nodens hunts monsters across the Dreamlands, but down in Tier 5 you'll find a different kind of hunter. This one snacks on souls. Tier 2, Cthulhu. Cthulhu, or
Cthulhu, no. Why Cthulhu is in level 2? Cthulhu is the most famous one of all the Elder Gods. Well, Elder ones.
Cthulhu, if you really want to get accurate, is the poster child of Lovecraft's universe. Even if you've never read a single line of his work, you've probably heard the name. Cthulhu first showed up in the 1928 short story called The Call of Cthulhu, and from there he became the face of the mythos. He looks like someone mashed together an octopus, a dragon, and a human, then supersized it. His head is a writhing mess of tentacles. His body's scaly. He's got wings that don't really look like they'd work, and he walks around on vaguely human arms and legs. In Lovecraft's story, one sailor described seeing him...
his wings are actually very big, so...
is like watching a mountain get up and walk. When Cthulhu rose from the sunken city of R'lyeh, the sailors who stumbled on him didn't exactly walk away fine. Some died outright, others went insane, and one crew had to ram their ships
I actually read it
straight into him just to buy enough time to escape, only to watch him regenerate and keep coming at them. Cthulhu is considered one of the great old ones. He's immortal, and he comes with a couple of unsettling perks. He can shapeshift, regenerate, and warp minds just by existing. Right now, he's hibernating in R'lyeh at the bottom of the ocean, waiting for the day the city rises again. Some of Lovecraft's followers have a theory that Cthulhu's slumber is tied to the stars. They say that he can only thrive when the stars are in the right position, and when they shifted out of alignment, R'lyeh sank with him, locked inside to wait it out. His followers claim that when he wakes, the world will throw laws and morals out the window. People will lose their minds, and humanity will collapse into chaos. But he's not expected to wake up on his own. His cultists insist they need to break him out with rituals and chants, which is easier said than done when your god is buried under miles of seawater. Even though he's been sleeping for who knows how long, Cthulhu has become something of a pop culture mascot. Writers expanded his story long after Lovecraft.
They did.
Fans turned him into memes. Scientists named animals after him. And he even ran as a parody presidential candidate in 2010 and 2016. Not bad for a cosmic horror currently napping at the bottom of the ocean. Nyarlathotep. Imagine a stranger walking into your city one night. He's tall, dressed like a pharaoh, and promises he can show you wonders from other worlds. You go see his little science show. Next thing you know, you're having dreams that feel too real. Your grip on reality starts slipping, and by the time you notice, it's already too late. That's Nyarlathotep. He first appeared in Lovecraft's 1920 prose poem Nyarlathotep, where he's described as a dark-skinned man resembling an English pharaoh. Wherever he travels, he shows off strange, impossible devices. At first, people are impressed, but his presence doesn't just wow crowds, it unravels them. They start losing themselves, falling into his influence, and joining the growing line of followers who no longer question what's real. Unlike most of Lovecraft's gods, Nyarlathotep is very aware of himself and very hands-on. He isn't trapped in a cosmic...
And the only one who is actually evil.
prison or snoozing at the bottom of the ocean. He walks Earth freely, shifting into whatever form fits the occasion.
And he is actually above Cthulhu. Well, that was for now. I believe we're talking enough, but we'll continue talking on Friday, I believe. Well, see you. Yeah, Friday and Saturday probably. But see you guys around. Thank you.